Hello, everybody. As we get into the pre-show here from Studio B, Christopher Gillingham is on, John Emmett, Joe Holtzman, Rick Banner. Who was at the top of your list, Julia, did you say? Clayton Emily, Alistair Murray, Mark Holland, Pete Cariso in Annapolis today. Welcome, everybody. We'll get this one across the proverbial starting line. I think we'll open on Julia for a change. There you are, Julia. You can welcome everybody to show number
792, which
for Tuesday.
Has some mysterious reason, but I don't know why.
Tuesday, the 17th of December. We're live as usual here from Studio B in San Francisco's beautiful Marina District at the Beach Street Yacht Club. It's the Tom and Julia show again, as usual, on Tuesdays and Fridays, though no show this Friday, remember. Thank you for joining us. Show 792, as Julia said, for Tuesday the 17th. There is no show on the Sailing Illustrated page. Is that right, John? Well, we should be streaming to the SI page, both the Facebook page and the YouTube channel. That's what we set up last night. Hopefully that's working. As we get this one on the road and across the starting line already, I want to thank Hamish Ross, who was with us the other day, Julia.
Yes, indeed.
Did you enjoy that show?
Very much.
Good. Well, we certainly enjoyed it. I did. I know Hamish did. I talked to him afterwards.
Oh, good. Yeah.
And it was he's just a fount
He is.
of information, right?
No question about it.
Good news, good information. It was great to have Hamish on. Thanks, Hamish. That was last Friday's show 791. Thank you for joining us. And those of you who did, if you didn't, go watch it in replay, because it was a good show.
Worth your time.
It was worth your time. And of course, Hamish, the America's Cup historian, the deed of gift expert, and just a terrific all-around guy. We appreciate that very much. Just a reminder on our holiday schedule, as you Anglos, Brits, Kiwis, Aussies would say, maybe even the Canadians. Our Sailing Illustrated Yacht Racing Person of the Year is in progress now, thanks to many of you who sent in your nominations, and I've got a list here. We're going to discuss them in a minute, but nominations are open through the end of this show. Next Tuesday, no show this Friday, but Tuesday the 17th, that's today, is our regular show. No show on Friday because I'm on an airplane. Christmas Eve, next Tuesday, the 24th, we'll do our regular show at 1300 Pacific time.
It's got to also be 12/24/24.
It will be. Is that a big deal?
Sure.
Oh, okay. If you say so, it is, Julia. Christmas Eve regular show at 1300 Pacific on 12/24/24. And then if you're European, it's 24/12/24.
But I'm not.
Well, you're not. That's true. Christmas night, the next night on the 25th, our time, 26th down under, we'll do our annual Rolex Sydney Hobart Yacht Race watch party at 17:30. We'll start a half an hour before the race starts to get dialed in and to check in with everybody. Christmas night here in the States and in Europe.
Is that going to be Zoom?
I don't know if we'll have Zoomers on for that or not, but we can discuss that. Would you think we should do Zoomers?
It's more fun.
Well, we can have a Zoom option. We can do that for sure during the watch party. What a good idea, Julia. We'll do Zoom. 24-12.24. It's a beautiful day in Lago Vista, Texas, as Alan Long checks in, but back on our schedule. Then Friday the 27th, so 3 shows next week. We'll also do a show on Friday, our regular 1300 PST show, this time of year, Pacific Standard Time. Although maybe Mr. Trump is going to switch that.
Yes.
He's saying he's going to lock the clock.
Right.
He's going to end this, ditch the switch.
Yeah.
As you all know, I'd be very happy about not changing the clock twice.
The only
a
thing
year.
is we have to arrange to have long summer evenings.
Well, stay on daylight time if you want instead of standard time. If you want to push the clock an hour forward, that's okay with me. But do one or the other. Don't keep switching back and forth. I know Clark Chapin and others think it makes sense to change the clocks, and it's not a big deal, but it's not good for one's health. People
They
have
keep
car
saying that.
accidents.
Yeah,
They
I
have
know.
problems.
How have we lived this long with it?
Well, we haven't lived very long with it. Only the last,
40
few
years.
decades. New Year's Eve, our regular show at 1300 on the 31st of December. We'll do that, and that's when we will announce the panel's selection for the Sailing Illustrated Yacht Racing Person of the Year. We'll have a discussion on Christmas Eve among the panelists and everybody. It'll be public. It'll be live here, so all of you can discuss it with the panelists and our panel, including the Zoomers, and I'll read the names again, but they're going to discuss your nominations and going to arrive at one, decide on one, right, Julia?
Right.
And we'll have a Sailing Illustrated Yacht Racing Person
Right.
of the Year. So should we talk about those nominations now before we go any further?
If you'd like.
Here are the nominations. Let me get my book out. I didn't make a slide or anything yet, but John Emmett, during the show last, what day is this? Tuesday, last Friday, said yacht club volunteers around the world should be the yacht racing persons of the year. Great nomination. He also has nominated the staff member at World Sailing, whose name escapes me. Remind us, John, in the chat right now, the person on the staff at World Sailing whom you think should be the yacht racing person of the year. This is the Paralympic, the parasailing staff member at World Sailing, and we can discuss that. A lot of you have nominated Cole Brower. Christopher Gillingham has nominated Jimmy Spithill on what he's done for Sail GP, having won the America's Cup, having had a last gasp as an America's Cup helm, presumably last gasp,
Right.
and for stepping aside and helping to nurture the young Italian talent and so on. Jimmy Spithill, Yachts Person of the Year.
And a lovely Royal Prince Alfred Aussie.
And one of your favorite Aussie boys. Aussies, Brits, and Kiwis. Ian Williams has been nominated by Andrew McIrvin for his 8th win. And we're going to talk about it today on the show.
Oh,
of
yeah.
course, his 8th win of the World Match Racing Tour, or the World Championship title, but also for Ian Williams' coaching of Sir Ben Ainsley at the America's Cup. Several of you nominated me, but I'm not in the running. Thank you. Nor is Julia. She and I are standing aside for this one. Pete Burling, Greg Normand in Michigan, has nominated Pete Burling on the strength of his America's Cup win yet again. He's won it now 3 times, 17, 21, and again in 24. Yachts Person of the Year. Has he had a huge influence on the sport? Probably has. Merritt Baumeister has been nominated by Jean Lamberts van Buren for all she has done, not only for Olympic sailing, but far beyond that. Great nomination. Thanks, John. Again, Cole Brower. John also supported Cole Brower's nomination. Claire Harrington. A little closer to home, she has nominated Doug DeVos for his work, and of course, on America Magic as really the principal, the team principal, one of the co-principals.
Right.
But for keeping that program, getting it going, keeping it alive, all the stuff he's done otherwise for the sport in the TP52 class and beyond. Doug DeVos.
That's good.
And any other nominations we've got through the show today to do that. So if you have nominations, we'd really appreciate them now so we can write them down. We'll get them out of the chat. Alistair Murray is saying, SI Yacht Racing Person of the Year, I nominate Pinar Koskuner Genk from Turkey. The Olympics is the pinnacle of small boat racing without question. The management and officialdom of Olympic sailing has been totally male-dominated. Pinar, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, Alistair, Mr. President Emeritus of Australian Sailing. Pinar at Marseille was the first ever female principal race officer at the Olympics and did a great job in difficult conditions. That's for sure.
That's true.
I think we have agreement on the criteria, Clark. It's the person who's made a huge impact on the sport this year, on or off the playing field. Bing Bong is saying Diego Botín, Olympic gold and Sail GP championship win. There's a good idea. Diego Botín, thank you, William Sangmeister, a.k.a. Bing Bong. Peter Bretschker, Commodore Bretschker, past Commodore Balboa Yacht Club, one of my favorite Commodores ever in the world, is saying it's warm and sunny in Newport Beach. We'll see you, Peter, probably this weekend, won't we? I'll be down there in your fair city and at our fair yacht club, Balboa Yacht Club. John Emmett, she will also, this is Pinar from Turkey, whose last name escapes me, Koskuner Genk. Did I pronounce that anywhere close to being proper? John Emmett, Alistair saying, John's saying to Alistair that she may also be president of Eurosaf, which is the European Sailing Federations, next year. Clark Chapin's got a nominee here. And Pete Cuddy-So is nominating Tony Parker for port tacking the fleet at the start of the 2024 Bermuda race. Stingray is saying Tom Slingsby, Slingers, okay. So we're getting some other nominations here. Ted Ryman can't find the Sailing Illustrated page tonight. I don't know why. We did last night do our usual thing, and we should be up and running on all those pages. Maybe during a video I can go see if I can turn. What is it the Facebook or is it the YouTube channel, Ted Ryman? That's not up and running. John Emmett also said that on one of our pages. Regardless, we seem to be up and running on Facebook, both my personal page and the Sailing Illustrated page. If we're not on the YouTube channel, I don't know what's going on with that. Any other nominations that I miss?
Here too.
Here's
Pete Burling and Charlie Dolan.
Charlie Dolan. Charlie's no longer leading. It's a three-way, very tight race there at the head of the Vendée Globe fleet. John Emmett couldn't find it. You're talking about the SI page on YouTube, right, John? Pete Cuddy-So is saying it's working perfectly. Maybe it's the SI Facebook page.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's maybe some servers.
Ted Ryman says it's Facebook.
Well, others are watching the Sailing Illustrated Facebook page, I guess. I don't know. I don't know what's going on, but YouTube is working. My personal page apparently is working. And for some of you, the Facebook page of Sailing Illustrated is not working, apparently, but they were all turned on last night when I did the usual. John Emmett saying the Sailing Illustrated is anyone else watching it on the Sailing Illustrated Facebook page? Just out of curiosity. Clayton Embley is saying a lot of my daughter's equestrian, that's his daughter Savannah. Mm-hmm. We're talking about Cole Brower when top female athletes in one sport are talking about an athlete from another sport. That is a good thing. Julia, that is a good thing, isn't it?
I agree.
I think Cole Brower is at the top or near the top of the number of nominations. But again, we'll leave it to our panel. Speaking of Clayton Embley, Julia.
Yes.
Let me put this up close on my camera so we can see what we're pouring into your coffee. Julia, yes. It really puts her in a very good frame of mind.
I know. I need a good frame of mind.
You're in a good frame of mind. When you got down here today, you were in a pretty good frame of mind.
Yeah.
So I'll give you a little bit of Clayton's bourbon cream.
Ooh, yes. Smells good, too.
For the drinking show with a sailing habit. My comments on Tom's Facebook page are not showing, and the SI page on FB is missing. Okay, I don't know what's going on. The Sailing Illustrated Facebook page. Go watch it on my page or watch it on YouTube. Sorry for whatever inconvenience, whatever's going on. I don't know what's going on with the SI Facebook page. John Winning Jr., Bing Bong, William Sangmeister, accomplished 18-footer year and brought Australia back to the America's Cup, even if only in the youth and the women's events. There's a good nomination for that matter. Cole Tapper had a good year. Yeah, had a good year on the water, but is he somebody making a huge impact on the sport? David James saying that John Kostecki winning the Star Worlds and Paul Carrad for all of his work. Yep. Bannero wants to nominate the non-sailing former CEO of U.S. Sailing for his across-the-board impact on U.S. sailing and the improvement of all the foreign competitors' performance due to the lack of focus and training techniques. You know, again, Julia, I hear U.S. sailing's in dire straits. I hear they're $1 million underwater in that lawsuit.
Sad.
And the guy who pushed the lawsuit, by the way, one of the guys who did the most pushing of that lawsuit
Right.
is the new president. His name is Henry Brower, and there are a lot of people not amused
Ah,
about the fact that he's the new president, but that's who
how'd that
was elected.
happen?
Well, he was elected. Neil Collingridge, yes, I am. I'm from Villamora. Goodbye, good riddance. I've contributed rather a lot to Danish sailing by staying off the water, Gordon Smith is saying.
Yes.
Sailing Illustrated, Facebook not working in New Zealand. I really don't understand, but Julia, are you on, Julie Ahrens, are you on my page or are you on Sailing Illustrated's Facebook?
She's on Facebook.
I hooray, hooray for the booze, Joe Holtzman is saying. Drinking games. Well, I don't understand it either. Let me go look. But when I put the show up at night, I put that promo out. It goes up, and I show it live on Sailing Illustrated, on my Sailing Illustrated. So maybe there's a server problem somewhere. I don't know what or why. Let me go look again and just be sure. I'm not sure it is on my Facebook page. Yeah, I think it is not live on Facebook. Sorry, on the Sailing Illustrated Facebook for some reason. Don't know why. Maybe, John Emmett, why don't you share it from my page? Oh, you can't share it from my page. I can share it from my page to the, let's see if that works. Why are we dicking around with this stuff? Why not? We'll share it to, while I'm mucking around. I never muck around like this, but it is the Tuesday before. Let's just see if we can do this. Everybody's going to leave us, Julia, while I do this. It is live on.
John Emmett says, yes, it is the SI Facebook page, which seems to have the issue.
Yeah, okay. Well, let's see what we can do here. What we can do, if I can very quickly share it to that page. Maybe I'll do it during one of the movies coming up. We'll see if we can share
Right.
it. Okay, drinking games, no drinking games. A few Fozy that responded are getting what for the Sydney Hobart watch party? Okay, well, I don't know why we're not up on the Sailing Illustrated Facebook page, but perhaps the North Koreans don't like Sailing Illustrated.
And here, Julie Ahrens is on this SI page on Facebook.
She says.
And
Rick Bannerow says SIFB live working fine in Connecticut. Okay, John Emmett's going to try to sort it. That's interesting. And Rick Bannerow says that the Sailing Illustrated Facebook page. So it's a Facebook problem they got a server problem somewhere. So let's carry on here. Any other nominations, please? Send them in. Facebook stopped showing comments for me when I couldn't get it back. This is Alan Long. Thanks, Alan. He's on YouTube now. Okay, again, we haven't had a problem like this in a long time, and it sounds like it's a Facebook problem. Yeah. But let's carry on here, shall we, Julia?
All right.
Because we have this breaking news, the sad news about Pip Hare on Sunday, as probably most of you know, on Medallia, her boat. She lost her rig and is south of Australia, now making her way toward Melbourne. This was the notification. And thank you. Several of you sent this to me. I hadn't seen it until you sent it to me.
800 nautical miles south of Australia.
Exactly. She got a long way to go to get there. She's headed toward Alistair and Co. in Melbourne. Pip is safe, and this is her team, put this notice up on Sunday, and we are working closely with Vendée Race Management. We will keep you posted as soon as possible. Thanks, Pip Hare Ocean Racing Team. This picture then came off her boat, and she's trying to try to get the boat motorable, sailable. I mean, those boats don't have motors, right? So she is sailing on some kind of a jury rig, and man, oh man.
Oh, I know. Immediately when I saw that, I thought, oh my God, she's as far south as anybody can go.
And then this is a video that she posted today, just before a couple hours ago, before we went to air. She's saying it's 13 days, maybe 12 days. And look at all the Fozy right at the top of that list. Steve Atkins, Alan Long, and 2.5 thousand others gave it a thumbs up or a heart or a, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And there were fully 442 comments and 91 shares when I grabbed that screen grab off her video from Facebook. And here is that video.
Hello and welcome on board the slow boat to Australia. Although having said that, unbelievably, we've done 96 miles in the last 24 hours, which I'm absolutely staggered with. But it has been 35 knots and blowing directly downwind, which is about the best setup. But now I've got some reaching to do, and so we're going to slow up a bit because that's not so easy. Overnight it was big breeze, big waves, and the waves were actually just breaking into the back of the boat. So I had to put kind of like my little dam in place to stop the waves from coming all the way against the cabin door. But yeah, we're in good shape and we've made some good progress. So it's, last time I looked, it was 690 miles to Melbourne, and Melbourne is where we're heading. So on that note, a massive thank you to everyone who has reached out to us from the Australian sailing community and offered help and knowledge. And we are working with a couple of you to coordinate my arrival, which I hope will be in around kind of between 11, 13 days, maybe 12 days, just after Christmas. But yeah, just straight away people offering help, which is incredibly kind. So thank you. I am a little bit better with every minute. Haven't done a lot since kind of putting my jury rig up, and that initial flurry of activity. I haven't done a lot. I think I needed to just kind of I guess absorb it all, and I needed the time to really kind of come to terms with what had happened, you know, acknowledging it and I guess accepting it in a way, and so yeah, kind of the last 24 hours I've not been so active, and I've done quite a bit of sleeping, which I guess, you know, is good all round. But moving forwards, I'm fairly determined to keep making inroads into everything every day. Just use this time positively, and I'm thinking a lot about the future. The immediate future, I'm going to pimp up my slow boat because this setup here, this rig here, is okay for downwind, but it's no good for reaching. And also, I think maybe I could go a bit faster, and I've got a sail down below that I could cut up to maybe make this into a schooner rig, which might be quite exciting. So I'll keep you posted on that. And I'm also thinking about the future, the next project for Pit Pair Ocean Racing, because this is who we are. This is what we do. We've got such a huge base of knowledge and experience. It's definitely time to kind of start thinking about the future, and that's giving me, you know, some hope and perspective. So finally, just I want to say a massive, massive thank you to all of you for the incredible messages of just care and support and belief, and how everyone has reacted to this dismasting. It really means the world to me. It's so important to be able to share these things with all of you, and you make it seem okay. You know, you make it a lot easier to manage these difficult times because of your incredible kind words and acceptance and support. I am going to continue sharing updates from the slow boat. If anyone likes slow TV, we're definitely going to have a bit. I'm putting together some videos on how I made the jury rig, and as I said, I'm going to be pimping up my sail area here to see if we can get a bit more speed out of this beast. It's slow TV, but I'm happy to share it all with you. And once again, thank you all.
Joe Cool's telling us that the inside scoop from reliable sources, other races are a little upset at the amount of press she is getting and not the others with the same struggles. Well, okay, look, she's having some struggles. She's going to have her 15 minutes of publicity of fame here,
Mm.
and then everybody's going to forget about her. But what a great attitude, Julie, as you were saying.
Oh yeah, I wish her continued riding on that same wave.
Well, let's see if Alistair, who's of course in Melbourne, if maybe he will end up taking care of her, maybe get an interview with her from her. I'll kind of have a conversation with her and get her on his AAAA.
Oh yeah,
What do you think of that?
that'd be good.
When she gets to Melbourne in 10 or 11 days, she is a champion. Rick Banner was saying Pip is the best. Well, good for her. I mean, Andrew Pindar is just checking in from a drinks party. Did he miss anything? Well, Andrew, how do you like this picture? He, of course, is being sponsored by Andrew and his new setup.
Mm-hmm.
And Andrew sent me that picture, and I thought it was only proper to include it. Julia?
Yes, indeed.
Don't you think that's a nice picture?
Yes.
Okay, we'll go back to the Vendée Globe and give you an update on all that in a minute, but let's carry on here and do our normal early part of the show. Julia, what are we celebrating today? There's a clue behind that lower third. It's a ancient Roman holiday named after a planet.
Mm.
Saturnalia.
Yeah.
Nalia.
Uh-huh.
And I think it was probably an excuse to have an orgy, but what do I know? Saturnalia. But here's really what it was. Saturnalia or Nalia, I'm not sure, began as a simple celebration on December 17th dedicated to Saturn, the Roman god of agriculture. Initially, it was a day for farmers to rejoice at the end of the autumn planting season.
Mm-hmm.
Over time, as Rome transformed from a rural society into a bustling empire, the festival expanded. By the late Republic era, it had grown into a week-long extravaganza that lasted until, guess what, December 23rd.
Aha.
The festival was not just about feasting and fun, it also inverted the usual social hierarchy. During Saturnalia, social norms were turned upside down. Slaves were temporarily given their freedom and could enjoy certain liberties like gambling and even ruling over their masters in jest.
Aha.
In fact, that was the most distinctive feature of Saturnalia, apparently, was the inversion. I don't know if this is just some woke guy writing or gal writing this, but was the inversion of social roles. Slaves temporarily enjoyed a taste of freedom, even participating in banquets where their masters served them. Julia, instead of me serving you here, maybe you could serve me sometime.
Better do that.
I'm just your slave, right?
Right.
Huh?
Mm.
This playful switch emphasized the festival's theme of liberty and merriment. Homes and public spaces were adorned with greenery, and traditional activities included feasting, gift giving, and spirited games. And that, of course, extended Saturnalia's influence extended beyond its time, contributing to the traditions of modern Christmas. The week-long merrymaking characterized by generosity and the lighting of candles, intertwined with Christmas celebrations as the early church looked to incorporate local customs.
Yes, indeed.
Did you know about that holiday?
No.
I had never heard of it. I don't feel so bad now, having gone to Michigan.
Yes.
As I always say, tease you a little bit.
Yes.
Julia,
Sir.
we're also celebrating our FOSI. We thank them very much for your support through the year. We appreciate it very much indeed. All of you, whether you come on the show like the Zoomers did during the watch parties, or Hamish came on and the guests that come, because the shows are always better with a cool guest, right?
Right.
Andrew McIrvin and John Emmett's regular contributions, Alistair Murray, Ed Worley, everybody that helps make these shows go. And all of you who just come on regularly and watch, we appreciate
and
it.
comment. You know, the several hundred of you which comment every time.
Well, yeah, we get over 300 comments, sometimes 400, sometimes 500 comments. And the comments are still coming in on the nominations. I see that, nice to see Bernard Schopfer from Switzerland is on. I haven't seen Bernard on in a while. And he is nominating Charles Caudrelier. That's an interesting nomination. Thank you for that. I think there was another nomination here. There was an interesting nomination. We'll go back and pull them all off. Yeah, the name of the lady on the World Sailing staff is Hannah Stodel. really needs our support. Inclusion is so important. Women, youth, and Paralympic parasailing in the Olympics. So we've already had over 100 comments. Rob Fry has nominated Grant Dalton. I'm surprised Julie Ahrens didn't already do that. Maybe she did and I missed it. Nominating Grant Dalton and ETNZ making a great AC happen in Barcelona, together with the development of women's and youth's AC 40 competitions. That's from Rob Fry, who, of course, is the father of Leonard Takahashi, who is now firmly ensconced with the Black Foils, the Kiwi Sail GP team. Did I miss any other nominations? Orgy, Nani, Graham Sweeney, Heath. I think it was an excuse for an orgy, too. Those Romans, all the Greeks were in that same. Greg Norman, you might not know, Tom, but today the Greeks celebrated Kiss My Uranus. Day to honor the heavens. Oh, what a comment is that. Everybody's, oh, that Stingray, that's not correct. That I'm not even going to read that. That is not correct. It's also John Emmett saying this Pinar Koskaner, the Turkish lady, Yank's birthday today. Interesting. Okay, yeah, Stingray, that was not correct. Sail World, New Zealand. That is, of course, Richard Gladwell, the esteemed editor of sail-world.com, the New Zealand editor. Anyway, the reason Pip here, Conrad Coleman, and a few others get a lot of media is because they are putting a lot of themselves into their commentary and are not just running a PR-controlled narrative. Richard Gladwell.
Absolutely. What a good point.
That is really a good point. It's just not corporate media coming out of the organizing committee. It's themselves. It's the same way, I think, Julie, same reason why we celebrated Cole Brower, because she got on day after day after day and gave us interesting insight, interesting tidbits into what she was otherwise doing.
Yes.
Besides sailing around the world. Okay. Yeah, Clark Chapin agrees. Yeah, what Richard Gladwell said. Julie Ahrens did not want to nominate Grant. She was waiting for somebody else to do it. There would not have been an AC-37 without Grant Dalton. Well, I think, Julie, that's a little over the top. Somebody somehow, some way would have figured out how to have an AC-37. Now, today's show, besides the FOSI, it's brought to you every time by the FOSI because we couldn't do it without you, especially those of you who are patrons via Patreon. Today's show is brought to you by a chain of restaurants, a nutritious soup, salad, and sandwich shops called, can you see that, Julia?
Croutons.
Croutons that really exists in California and Oregon. And they're our sponsor today. And there is one of their salads. Croutons. And they are apparently, I've never heard of them before, a couple days ago, and one of the FOSI sent this to me, sent the name of the restaurant and that picture I just showed you in Irvine, California. And they serve soup, salads, sides, sandwiches, and apparently they're really good. They're sponsoring today's show. Now, do you believe that, Julia?
No.
No, they're not. I just thought every time now we should have a tongue-in-cheek. Do that again. A tongue-in-cheek. That'll get a dirty joke out of Stingray, too. You better not do that.
No.
Croutons is today's show brought to you by Croutons.
In honor of the entirety of us.
They have locations in Sorrento Valley, UCSD, that's the University of California, San Diego, down in La Jolla, Irvine, California, which is where we heard about it, and Carlsbad, as well as in Oregon, up in Bend, Oregon, and someplace else. Croutons, bringing you today's show. That's from Rich Fishbeck.
Wouldn't you know?
Down in Orange County. Yeah. And he saw the restaurant and he said, I can't believe it. I'm going to contact them and see if they want to sponsor our show for real.
Yeah.
Finger wag for Julia, Ted Ryman is saying, after you stuck your...
I missed that because I don't know the significance of that.
Well, okay. I think Ted Ryman has a lawsuit against Croutons because he is the original Crouton. No, he's not. Watching you from Portugal, Picato 555. Nice show. First time live for me. Well, thank you for joining us, Picato 555. Tell us your real name, if you would, please. A lot of us here on the show have been to Portugal any number of times. We have regulars that watch from Portugal. I've sailed several times in Cascais and down in the Algarve, and also we did TP52 Worlds, but we also did a I'm trying to remember now. We did a youth world championship there in about 1979 or 80, and I was on the jury.
Mm.
Russell Coutts was sailing.
Mm.
Chris Dixon was sailing. This was back in the old days. Portugal won. And if I get to retire and I get to choose the country where I'm going to retire, you know where it is?
Portugal.
Portugal, you bet. The people are fantastic. The food is nice. The weather is even better than SoCal.
Yes.
Same regime. It's the west facing with a cold current up and down the coast and hot inland.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of 70, 75 degrees like you have in SoCal, it's even a little warmer. You know, a lot of people think SoCal's too cold.
Mm-hmm.
They're expecting Hawaii type temperatures.
Mm-hmm.
LA is a little warmer, but down in San Diego and Newport Beach, it can be chilly at times. South of Portugal, the Algarve.
I've
Fabulous.
stayed weeks there at a time.
A lot. Fabulous. Our apologies for the occasional language. It's mostly Stingray's fault. Apologizing to Picado 555, the gentleman that's on joining us. Thanks to Croutons, our not sponsored, but we mentioned them anyway. Let's get on to what happened in Shenzhen. Shenzhen. I'm going to have to get lessons from Leisha, from Golden Lily Zhu, because it was a fabulous event. Ian Williams, as you all know, was crowned the match racing world champion on Sunday for his record-breaking 8th time that he's won the world match racing championship, crowned the winner, the WMRT World Match Racing Tour champion. And bravo Zulu to him. The 2024 WMRT Shenzhen bound final concluded where Britain's Ian Williams, Pindar, supported by, of course, the team name is Pindar, by Manuport Logistics, our Fozy Andrew Pindar,
Mm-hmm.
team of with his sailing team of John Gunnarsson, Richard Sydenham, I think it is, and Jerry Mitchell claimed their record-breaking 8th match racing world championship title after a dramatic showdown against young Nick E.J., New Zealand's Nick Egnott Johnson of Knots Racing, who's also a Fozy. Both Williams and Egnott Johnson, former match racing world champions, showed that experience prevails as they advance to the final after overcoming their French competitors in tightly contested semifinals.
I bet they were. Woo.
And they were. It was light air, but they did have some breeze. There was a bit of a breeze on and off during the series, but this was we left you on Friday with the semis. Now they advanced from the quarters and going into the semis, and there were 2 French teams in the semis. Ian Garretta, whom I'd never heard of, was paired against Nick E.J., and then Aurelien Piros, is that close, Julie? You're the Francophone. Against Ian Williams in the other semi. Ian took that one 3-1, and Nick E.J. had to come from behind. He was down 1-0, and came back and won his semi against Ian Garretta 3-2. And the racing was tight. It was close. That set up an all-French petit finale. That's the runner-up, where the 3rd and the 4th place is determined. Vive la France!
Mm-hmm.
Piros and Garretta in the petit finale.
Who won that?
Well, we're going to tell you.
Oh.
You don't think I wouldn't tell you, do you?
I do.
You do think that? You think poorly of me.
Yeah.
Here's the winner, Julia, just for you.
Uh-huh.
Aurelien Piros won 2-0 over Ian Garretta. But bravo Zulu to Ian's team as well as Aurelien's, because they had they came from nowhere. I'm sure they've been good in match racing in France, and France has been an up-and-coming nation, as has Italy, and youthful match racing. So bravo Zulu to them. That is the petit finale of that World Match Racing Tour. That left Ian Williams, from Great Britain, of course, and Nick E.J. from NZL, his Knots Racing team, and the Pindar Racing team. Those 2 were paired in the final, first to win 3, and it got interesting in a hurry. It was very close, very tight. There were a lot of penalties, there were a lot of protests and a few penalties. And look at how close this racing was. Here's a penalty, a call, an overlap call, a windward-leeward call, I'm not quite sure what. Looking back, Ian Williams says to the umpire, saying, hey, he penalized him, give him a penalty. Well, ultimately, they were tied 2-2, and then this happened. And you couldn't really tell live what was going on, but John Sangmeister had pretty good info coming to us, and he was sending me pictures, including this one, and updates from a source he had there in China. And this is after Ian Williams has won the third race to we thought, win the series 3-2, but the umpires decided that Ian did not avoid a collision, and that a failure to avoid resulted in him getting a 0.75 penalty. So instead of winning 3-2 at the end of race 5, he got docked 3/4 of a point. And that's why we always say it's not the first to 3 wins, it's the first to 3 points, or 5 points, or whatever points, because the umpires, right, Julia?
Right.
The umpires might dock you a point or even add one to the other team. So that's what happened, is that Ian, after winning what would have been the third race for him, and would have been up, and then having won 3-2, instead he got docked, and he had to go race A6. They had to go race another race, and they did,
Wow.
which he won handily.
Mm-hmm.
And as Magnus the Magnificent said in his Rule 69 post yesterday, he's celebrating British sailing, and of course Ian Williams, and it's amazing that he got to 8, but having then won it, and then to have to go back and in light air and win it again after the umpires docked that 3/4 of a point, and win the 6th race, which he did do, and he won it fairly easily. You can see there's a pretty good gap there.
Right.
I think that's the final leg going down to the finish. It's just a 4-leg course: windward, leeward. Bravo Zulu to Ian and his entire team 8 times winning the World Match Racing Tour, and he just is unbeatable, all but. And he hasn't done a three-peat. He's won 2 in a row. He won last year, as you know.
Yeah.
But he hasn't won 3 in a row. This is over a much longer period of time than just 8 years that he's won all these championships. John Emmett says we need to talk about Magnus's Heart of Darkness blog. Yeah, I didn't put it in the show, but there was some upsetting information from Magnus that when he wrote about. Well, let's don't cover that now, but we will cover it at some point here. Who was that? John Emmett. Thank you. Same umpires as the. They're talking about some NFL stuff here. Foreign languages for Sailors Illustrated. Yeah, I apologize. But let's go here, have a look, because another superstar at this event was another Fozy. You know who that is, Julia. Looks like she's got she's got an entourage with her. And that, of course, is Golden Lily. That's Zhu Lijia, if you're putting her name properly in Chinese. But Lily Zhu from China now lives, married to John Emmett, and living in Great Britain most of the time.
Except in cold weather.
Yeah, I don't blame her. And she has become a media star in her own right. She's not only a terrific sailor and a 2-time medalist, Olympic medalist, gold medalist, in fact, 2012. She is doing a fabulous job with the media. She's also hosting press conferences. This is either the semifinalist press conference or the final press conference, because you got the 2 guys on the left. That's Nick and Ian, and the 2 guys on the right were in the petit finale, the 2 French guys on the right, which is why I paired like that. I assume this is the final press conference, not the semifinal press conference, but I don't know for sure. But bravo Zulu to her, and here she is hosting the final video of this championship.
Yeah.
Welcome to the final day of the 2024 World Match Racing Tour final here in Shenzhen, Bao'an. The wind looks promising, so we'll continue with the semi-finals. The first 2 teams to get 3 wins will advance to the finals. By the end of the day, we'll know which team claimed the 2024 World Match Racing title. Let's see. In a chilly 8 to 12 knots of wind in the morning, the semi-final stage of the World Match Racing Tour in Shenzhen, Bao'an, China resumes with both matches tied at 1 win apiece. As Williams switched into gear, he scored the crucial 2 points over Aurélien Perrault from France, taking one more step towards becoming an 8-time champion as he moves into the final for the 2nd successive year.
for once, you know, everything sort of went the way we predicted it and we were able to draw away. So really happy to be in the final and looking forward to it.
France's young star Ian Greta gives his team confidence when he ties the match at 2-2 after Nick Acknock-Johnson won the third match. The French tried everything, but it's the Kiwi team who are delighted to move into the final.
I think we just managed to sail our own race, not worry about them too much, and the guys did a great job of linking together all the dots, and I feel like the semis has prepped us pretty well, and we're just looking forward to getting in and racing in.
So the reigning match racing world champion Ian Williams from the UK faces off against the 2022 world champion Nick Acknock-Johnson from the New Zealand for the $50,000 first prize in this first to three wins final. First blood goes to Nick in match 1, winning by around 10 boat lengths. But after close battle in match 2, Ian ties the score at 1 win each. Match 3 sees the British team take the right side of the course and force the Kiwis to duck them on the first cross to seize the advantage. Despite Nick's effort, there's no way past the 7-time world champion, and so Ian moves into a 2-1 lead on the scoreboard. But match 4 is a disaster for Williams when his spinnaker halyard detaches and the kite hits the water, ending his race. He is black flagged by the umpires, handing the win to the Kiwi team.
It's all on. I think those guys are sailing really well. They're definitely pushing us really hard, and we need to be totally on our game.
All eyes are on the pair together in the pre-start, and no quarter is spared. Turning the final windward mark, Ian and Nick collided when Ian didn't allow Nick enough room and is warned off by Nick. But as he turns down, Ian hits the Kiwis and is penalized. Now Ian needs to force a penalty on Nick and so drives the Kiwi team wide, forcing them further and further out. Eventually, Nick goes for the jibe but cannot evade the trap and incurs a penalty, thus cancelling out Ian's, and now Williams jibes away and crosses the line to win. Dramatically, however, on inspecting the damage to the two yachts, the umpire decides the match must be resailed. They go again, and this time the action is in the pre-start with 2 penalties again, cancelling each other out before they had crossed the start line. But a fired-up British team dominate the race and cover every move that Nick and his team make, rounding the cross flawlessly to win again, securing their 8th World Championship title.
Yeah, I mean, a great job by the whole Pindar by Manipur Logistics team to stay cool. Right, we've got to win another one. Let's just go do it. We knew we could do it, and the guys just did a superb job. I felt like that was the best race we sailed in the whole final.
You know, getting to sail against Ian, it's always an honour. Like, we've grown up learning to match race, watching them on YouTube. To be able to push them to a total of 6 races in the finals of a World Championship, we're all very happy.
A glamorous award ceremony celebrates a 3rd place for Aurélien Pierrot from France, with Nick and his team 2nd. But it's Ian Williams that once again lifts the shining match racing World Championship trophy and wins the $50,000 prize money for 1st place. So, congratulations again to Ian Williams and his team for winning a record-breaking 8th World Match Racing Champion title. And this brings to a conclusion to our 2024 World Match Racing Tour season. We'll see you next year.
One of the best videos I remember seeing.
Yes.
Okay, there was 1 or 2 minor problems with the script, and Bing Bong, I think, picked up on it, William Sangmeister, but really a well-edited, well-cut piece, nicely voiced by Lily. And I think whoever wrote the script, I thought the whole production was really good, Julia.
I did mention to you that it's also useful to remember that she also went back and got a degree in broadcasting.
At Southampton University.
At Southampton.
After all her Olympic work.
Yeah.
Correct.
And so it really paid off.
Well, it did. And she's a sailor, plus she's obviously smart. And you know what we say about people who are multilingual? They're smarter than... No, it does something to your brain wiring, right? It's like music.
Right.
does something. Ask Claire Harrington.
Yes.
She teaches these kids, or did for years at St. George's.
Right.
And anybody who's got a musical background that's good for your brain wiring, and multiple languages
Yes.
is good for your brain wiring and makes you a better person, in my never so humble opinion.
Oh, I agree.
You do. Lily is a great commentator. Julie Ahrens agrees. And oh dear, that paints me in a very bad light, John Emmett is saying, because he doesn't apparently do music, or, but he still speaks well, and he can walk and he can pat. I think Emmett, Julia, uniquely can walk and talk, hold his stick, and
Right.
he can pat himself on the head and rub his
Right.
belly all at the same time, which, I can't even do that here, trying to switch the show. It's changed the slides.
No, he's worked on it, and it's really good.
Well, and he has. And let's look at some other, it's like anything else. You get a little practice, a little coaching, and you get better at it. So here's the trophy. Here's the prize giving, just as a nice shot. And thanks to James Pleasant, who sent me some pictures this morning. He literally got off the plane, Julia. And as he got off the plane, he was sending me pictures from the final wrap-up pictures, which we're now showing you here.
Mm-hmm.
Ian won with his team of John, Richard, and Jerry, and then Nikki J with Jack. This is a hell of a team, too. I know 3 of these.
Mm-hmm.
I get 3 of the 4, I think. I don't know if I know Chris Main. Jack Freeman, Zach Merton, I know. Chris Main, maybe. And then the guys with the French team, both those 3rd and 4th place teams, obviously superb as well. Eric Monine, who's been at the top of the World Match Racing Tour for years from Switzerland. Yanni Berenson, who won in Bermuda, finishes 6th. A lot of us thought he was a pre-regatta favorite, but he's maybe better in breeze. Chris Poole, who's been leading the charge for, and winning the Congressional Cup and so on. Chris Poole in 7th. Cole Tapper, who's had a great year, finished 8th. And on down, Timothée Rossi, who we know from Governor's Cup and is a terrific kid, another French sailor. They had 3 French teams. Talk about strength of nationality.
Mm-hmm.
So great job by that whole list and all those sailors, and also James Pleasance and his team. Finally, this picture I thought you would enjoy. There's Lily in the back, probably doing a little translating for the Chinese media, or back and forth between them and Ian. And as our dear friend Annie Rose says, Julia, maybe the bottom line to this event was that old age and treachery beats youth and enthusiasm every time.
Well, it's fun to say that, but it's not always true.
Well, who would have thought? Nikki J is pretty tough, pretty strong. But I called Andy this morning and got that quote to get it just right.
Yeah.
And I asked him, I don't know if that's a quote from someplace else, but it's we'll attribute it in this case to Andy Rose. So that's the WMRT final, and Ian Williams and co. with their record 8th win. Bravo Zulu to them. Let's get to John Emmett and his coaching corner, his regular report. We thought that would follow logically right after Lily. Here's John Emmett's coaching corner with John Emmett from down on the family farm.
Hi, Tom, Julia, and all the Fozy. Sailing is a sport for everybody. Now, one of the most important things we can do in our sport is to keep it inclusive. So a little walk and a talk around Imberhorn Farm. And one of the great sadnesses for me in recent times is the removal of sailing from the Paralympics. And this is something that I really hope can be rectified for 2032, when, of course, the Olympics is in the USA. And we really need to think about this now, because change is like a container ship. It takes a really long time to get up to speed, and possibly even longer when a change of direction is required. And I think that the idea that we can have Paralympic sailing is something that is really, really worth fighting for. And I look for myself, I would like to sail for, my whole life is possible. And the able-bodiedness shouldn't be a restriction to enjoying time on the water. And in fact, we have some classes like the 2.4s where you have really good racing between the able-bodied people. and they actually have a category system. Now, it's very easy with these conflicts to look back and think, you know, what we should have done, why we didn't do this, whose fault was this? But pointing fingers, it doesn't change. We are where we are now, and we cannot turn back the clock, not even 5 seconds. So I hope that as a group we can come together, because there's some really good people out there who are trying to get things done. And I think if you're in a position to help, the best way for a combined approach is to reach out to World Sailing, to the Paralympic managers there, and see what you can do to help with a combined approach. And I think anything raising awareness and just keeping it in the top of people's minds is so important, because whatever country you're at, there will be people who would like to be able to get on the water, and some of the national authorities have a budget and are incredibly supportive, some of them don't. But we can always do our very best to try and get people on the water. Now, I'm incredibly lucky to live in Weymouth. I actually moved there probably 25, 30 years ago, because I got fed up with driving to the place, and long before it was selected as a Olympic venue, because it was a very good place to sail. And we there have the Chesil sailability and lots of things to try and get people on the water. And it's just like with Olympic sailing, with the marginal gains, where you just keep on doing stuff and keep on doing stuff, and eventually you get the performance that you need and you desire and you have the goal for. So I hope Paralympic sailing is on the way back. Let's do everything we can to help. And if you haven't done so already, please like, follow and share. Comments welcome now and in replay.
Thanks, John. And I think Julia, I think we do. I think about Julie Aarons too. I think we all agree.
Yes.
Because we'd love to have it we'd have sailing back in the Paralympics. Yeah. And I don't know if John, if I misheard him or he misspoke, and I put a comment in just now. It's no Paralympics sailing, no sailing in the Paralympics 2028 in Long Beach. And
right.
That's gone. As Gladwell, as Richard just said, we lost that because our non-sailing CEO was asleep at the switch, and for a number of other reasons, that thing fell by the wayside. The problem, as Richard also points out, is that getting sailing back in, getting any sport back into the Paralympics, once it's been knocked out of the box, is very difficult indeed, because you got lots of other sports vying to get in. They get in, and then there's a lot of pressure from other sports. So I certainly agree with John, and I know that Magnus the Magnificent, Magnus Wheatley wrote, apropos what we were talking about a minute ago, Magnus wrote quite a piece about this, and saying how important it was for us to get sailing back in the Paralympics. And he talked about the problems that at World Sailing he levied, maybe he pointed a finger at the current staff and the current officer leadership in World Sailing. Mm-hmm. And whether that's justified entirely or not, I don't know. But then he got some hate mail, and he wrote the next day. He wrote a column, a post on the Rule 69 blog. That is, Magnus Wheatley, saying, "Oh, you know, it's terrible when I get people threatening me and my family." And I wake up, I roll out of I wake up at 5 a.m. or so and start reading my email. There's usually Magnus's latest post just there at the top of my email, and I texted him immediately and said, "Hey, Magnus, you know, there are a lot of idiots in the world, and I'm amazed that you don't get more hate mail more often, because we get hate mail here.
Yeah.
Not too often,
Not really.
but we do, and we always just, and I can tell you back in the 88 and 92 America's Cups, when I was in San Diego running the car, I got hate mail in the mailbox. I got calls. We got people running up and down outside the house, shouting at us. You know, Eamon, go home. There's, you know, it was, there was.
Why were they so upset?
Well, because there were people that didn't think that we should be defending in the 88 Cup in a mully hull, among other things.
Well, of course, they had good reason.
Well, come on, Julia. That was a perfectly legitimate response to that rogue challenge of Mr. Michael Fay.
It was legitimate, but upsetting.
well, upsetting, but you don't threaten people's lives. And, you know, we had a young daughter at that point who had just been born and later on. But in any event, Magnus, people, there are lots of croutons. And I said to Magnus, I'm amazed you don't get more.
Yeah.
Not because his positions are wrong, but I'm amazed you don't get, just because he's out there and putting his you know what on the table day after day after day, as we do here. And we every now and then. But to the credit of our Fozy, we never allow, and we rarely get, name calling, personal attacks, or coarse language.
Yes.
And the odd dirty joke from Stingray, we can tolerate. Grow up, Stingray. You've really gone over the deep end on this show. What other comments, Julia?
I'm just thinking about the fact that the first time I met two blind sailors
Yes.
who were sailing alone, and how much that opened their world, and how much they were trying to
Exactly.
help other people open their world. And they've been ocean racing.
Well, exactly. And our sport is so well suited for people who are challenged physically, mentally, otherwise. And because as my father, at age 92, still Clark Chapin will vouch for me,
Right.
Joe Holtzman will vouch, he always said, the great thing about sailing is that it requires mental and physical agility.
Yeah.
And if you're challenged physically, at least, you can get into a boat that's geared for your disability, for your problem, your challenges, and you can still go yacht racing and challenge your brain. And
Absolutely.
that's, Julie Ahrens is saying, Paralympics is a necessity. We must be included. It's totally repugnant. Well, and what we have to do, if for some reason we don't get re-included for 2032, then we've got to put on a major world championship for parasailing.
Yeah.
That not doesn't mimic, but rivals or exceeds what the sailors would experience at the Olympics. It's not the same, I know, but
Well, it could be better. Because it'd be less restrictive.
well, yeah, but it's still an expense and it's difficult and it's still not the same as going to the Olympics. Pedro foiling sailor Peter Stevenson, who helped get the Croutonic. I moved the Croutonic corner. Where am I? Back here, Peter. I don't know if you've been on, but that's his doing. He's going to fix a thing for us for that whole back table, and we'll not just have the Croutonic corner. We'll have the Croutonic table with all this stuff that all of you have sent us, many Fozy have sent us. To get sailing back in the Olympics, Paralympics, Peter Stevenson is saying, a.k.a. Pedro Foiling Sailor, get rid of the non-sailing administrators that made the decision to not include sailing. Yeah, I agree, and I think that's what Magnus Wheatley is saying as well. If you want to help, John Emmett is saying, contact Hannah Stodel at World Sailing. She's the staff member responsible for this particular discipline in our sport, which is, of course, chess on the water, as Julie Ahrens is saying. And I just want to reprise what John Sangmeister said a couple shows ago when he was on with Andrew Pindar, and they were on talking, and James Pleasance. They were talking about the World Match Racing Tour. That was a preview for the World Match Racing Tour. And what John's fervent hope is that we get, John Sangmeister, that we get match racing into the 2028 Olympics,
Right.
which is only in 3 years' time now.
Yes.
So we got to get hustling, get that in as a demonstration event in Long Beach, like we had windsurfing as a demonstration event in 1984.
Right.
So it'd be nice we did that. Okay, that was John Emmett. That was his coaching corner. John Emmett, get to the front of the fleet. His regular reportage, for which we are deeply appreciative.
Yes, and he's good and getting better and better too.
Yeah, he is. And so is Alistair, so is everybody, except you and me, or maybe
I know,
maybe you are. I'm going downhill. I'm getting through.
I never was on the hill to begin with. I know.
Steve Gruber wants to know, talking to Julie Ahrens, if in the chat, if sailboat racing is chess on the water, how can I be pretty good at sailing and completely suck at chess? Thanks, John Emmett. Thank you very much. Let's go into detail now about the Vendée Globe, and it's day 37 of this event, which I don't know if all of you find it as interesting as I do. I watch it, I look at it, I look at the tracker, I like the media that they're doing. I love, as Richard Gladwell said, I love the media that's coming off the boats, particular Conrad Coleman, Pip Hare, and others. Now we've got a new ostensible leader. They've been back and forth, and it's hard to tell who's actually in the lead, and it really doesn't matter because it's in the lead in terms of how many miles to the finish line, but where they are vis-a-vis each other and vis-a-vis the weather systems, it's another matter. But regardless, there's 3 of them now in the hunt, and all within about 5 miles last I looked. Three's Company was the headline today from the Vendée Globe website. Many seasoned observers predicted this Vendée Globe might play out as a 2-cornered tussle between Charlie Delaune, desperate to take the top step of the podium after having finished first. Remember, he was first across the finish line in the last edition in January 2021, but denied by Yannick Bestaven's time compensation. He got some redress for helping somebody who was foundering. And the hugely talented, meticulous first-timer Jan Richomme, Dallen's long time rival. And that's who's in this picture here. And he's right up there now alongside Charlie. Few expected it to be a 3-sided battle. Even harder to find would be a race fan who would have, or, even somebody, a race fan, but even somebody who's a cognoscenti, who would have envisioned Sebastian Simons, to be taking on the highly fancied duo on a boat that has no starboard foil.
Wow.
So he's doing it disabled, in a sense. But that is the remarkable scenario this afternoon, today on day 37, halfway to the 2016 74-day race record. And by the way, all 3 of them are just alongside the record from 2015, 2016.
Yeah, I saw that.
Or is it 2016, 2017?
Yeah.
They're right alongside that record. So they're racing at a fitful, freezing 15-knot southerly at 57 degrees south. Today's new leader, this is Richomme pictured, on Patrick Archaea, and Dalline on his massive Sante Prévoyance, are only 2 or 3 miles apart laterally. Les Sables d'Olonne's, he's from Les Sables d'Olonne, the race start and finish, port and region of France. Simone group, how do you say that, Julia?
De Bruyne? I don't know.
Is about 70 miles to their north. But in terms of head and behind in the distance to finish line, they're all about the same. And here is the weather report and update from the organizers from earlier today.
So let's have a look at what Sam was describing there. At the front of the fleet, we've got these very cold, southerly winds that the front 3 are reaching in. And then we've got this ridge that is really preventing the back group from joining them. This is the front that Sam was talking about. And you can see Sam and Clarice here have just fallen off the back of that front and are in those lighter winds behind with the big sea states still there. Chasing down is Benjamin Dutroux and Roman Antanasio, and they have got a really difficult system coming ahead of them. And then we've got our closing group entering that second Great Cape. So if we look at this video, we can see here this massive area of light winds. And in this area is what's going to stop them being able to travel in a straight line. That's going to cause some confusion. But somebody who didn't fall out the back of the front that Sam did is Boris Herrmann, and he's made huge gains overnight.
Really?
Boris Herrmann.
Good.
We'd like to see that. So there is your leaderboard, the top 10. Johan and Charlie and Sebastian are all within, according to this chart, 3 nautical miles. 3 nautical miles and change. And then you've got Boris Herrmann, who's moved up to 9th down there on at the bottom of the leaderboard. He's still 837 miles back. He's really not in the hunt, and he's a one weather system behind, so that's not going to change.
And look at number 4, though, too.
Likewise, exactly, Julia. Likewise, Nicholas Lundven and Thomas Rouillant, they're 600 and change miles back. So I don't think you're going to see any of them threatening these top 3 unless something really bizarre happens over in the Atlantic on the way back up to Les Sables d'Olonne. There is the next 10, and you see the women, Justine, Clarice, Samantha Davies, who Justine Metro, Clarice Kremer, and Samantha Davies in 11, 12, and 13, still bunched together. Interesting that they are. Then Isabel Yashka is down there, the German lady, down in 17. Jean Lecam, who's the leader, I believe, still of the non-foiling boats, and he's also the oldest skipper in the fleet. He's in 18th. And then finally, Conrad Coleman is down in 27th. But again, as Richard Gladwell said, this guy gives good video. He's like Cole Brower. He's like Pip Hare, and he gives interesting stuff. A little longer video than I normally play, but I think it's worth every second. Have a look.
Today, there's something quite unusual that happened.
That's right, the sun came out. Woohoo!
Oh, it's beautiful. Look at this. Oh, it's so pretty out here. A little bit of blue in the sky. That's spectacular. And this this ball of fire in the sky and this strange blue. Well, it led me to have this very strange feeling that I haven't had in a while, being called too hot. I actually got to take some layers off, and it was quite an intense moment, let me tell you. That's because the last couple of days have been frighteningly cold, but you know, that's what I signed up for. Yeah, it's been well, the weather's been nice, but hello, Albatross. Look at my friend down there. He's over there. It's nice to have company down here. The weather has been nice and with light winds, but for the race that's actually quite challenging because there was this strip of really... Look at that, it's a fishing boat. Look at that. Good Lord, what's going on? There's nobody around me. I'm in the middle of nowhere and there's stuff in the water. I don't know if that's abandoned and that's rubbish, or if there's a fishing operation going on around here, but wow, it feels spooky and kind of weird to have evidence of humanity out here. I'm quite convinced that I was the only person in the world recently. Well, anyway, that kind of proves my point, because the weather has been challenging. There was a band of strong winds that I fell off of sort of 36 hours ago, and unfortunately a lot of the other Daggerboard boats sort of stayed within it. So Jean, Benjamin, and certainly Tanguy, who I'd closed up with, well, they stayed in the stronger winds because they were a little bit further east, and then I got stuck in the lighter winds. And that band of light wind has been moving along with me, and I was meant to get out of it by now, but it's kind of in this awkward phase where I'm moving just fast enough to stay with the light winds, that the stronger winds behind can't kind of catch up. So it's this vexing moment from the race as far as that's concerned, but in terms of sort of life on board, well, it's quite pleasant because I can sleep and eat and you know, not be smashed in the face by tons of water. I guess that just means I need to sort of relativize the whole thing. People at land, land lovers, you lot, we often sort of adopt the sailing lingo and terminology by saying, oh, I'm gonna change tack, or well, yeah, I guess that's often the phrase that's used. What else? I guess we don't talk about jibing and standard life on land, but basically, you know, you can only sail with the winds that you have. You can dream for other things. You can dream for, you know, winning the lottery, but you can only sail with the wind that you have. And so I'm doing the best that I can, not only to make good progress with the wind that I have, but certainly continue working on the boat so that it's in optimum position to go as fast as possible when I do get the wind. So, a little bit of a waiting game, but knowing the Southern Ocean as I do, the strong winds will be back.
The strong winds will be back, Julia.
He looks like he's trimming his beard every day.
I think part of the reason, we said this on the show the other day, I think part of the reason, too, they like to do these videos, or some of them do.
Yeah.
You know, there's different personalities. Some people are more outgoing and
Right.
extroverted, and they also, I think it's one of the ways they stay sane,
Yes.
frankly, is
Oh,
to,
absolutely.
let's put a video together, talk to people like they're here in the boat, not, half a world or more away.
Yeah.
Great stuff. Good stuff.
It is.
Vendée Globe, good fun. We'll keep you updated on that. Around the world in under 80 days, it looks like 70 some odd days. Julia,
Sir.
what is this day in history? The 17th of December, 1925.
25.
Not related to sailing, strictly speaking, but could be, might be, might be very much related to sailing. We shall see. Here's your first clue.
Oh, gosh. I don't know who that is.
Okay, here's who it is. The Sultan,
Ibn Saud.
Abdulaziz ibn Saud, from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia before it was the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. He made it the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia.
Yes.
Lived from 1875 and died the year I was born, 1953.
Mm-hmm.
And here is some more about him, the founder and first king of Saudi Arabia, who founded the house, and he was king from 32 to 53, who founded the House of Saud, the third Saudi state, quote unquote. Ibn Saud reconquered his family's ancestral home of
Riyadh.
ta-da, Riyadh. In 1902, starting 3 decades of conquest that made him the ruler of nearly all of Central Arabia. He
Amazing.
consolidated his control over the Najd. I looked that up and listened to how it's pronounced. In 22, then conquered the Hijaz, they actually say it with a more jazz. In 1925, he extended his Hejaz, in fact, is how they pronounce it. He extended his to Arabia in 32. As king, he presided over the discovery of petroleum in Saudi
right.
Arabia in 38 and the beginning of large-scale oil production after World War II. Aramco, Arab American Oil Company.
Mm-hmm.
He notably fathered too, many children, including 45 sons. That was just the sons. I wonder how many daughters he fathered. 45 sons and all of the subsequent kings of Saudi Arabia. What do you think of that? Lawrence of Arabia gave him a hand. Indeed.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing.
On this date, in 1925, he conquered Jeddah. That's not my headline. Somebody misdid that headline on whatever site I found this on. Conquers Jeddah, the last major stand of the Hashemites against the Saudis.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of that?
Yeah, well, that's why I remember the name.
David James says he has not yet reconquered his family's ancestral home, which was in Denmark. Ted Ryman, Alex Thompson lost his starboard foil in the Southern Ocean on a Hugo Boss in 2016. He still managed to finish second. Good point. So back on the Vendée.
Mm-hmm.
Clark Chapin, in Saudi royal succession, daughters don't count. Well, we understand that, and they've got problems in how they treat women. That's another issue. But that's what happened on this day in history.
Well, that's
In
important.
1925.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Julia, for extra credit, way back,
Yes.
what happened on this day in history? Here's your first clue. This day in history,
Yeah.
way back.
Oh, I was going to say it looks like the New England
The what?
the Tea Party.
The Boston Tea Party. Americans throwing the cargoes of the tea ships into the river at Boston.
Yes.
And I did not know this, but there's a Boston Tea Party museum there in South Boston. Yeah, Ed Worley is saying the Boston Tea Party.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the museum, and that's what happened 250, I guess, 1 years ago, maybe 52 years ago. Americans boarded a British ship and dumped 342 chests of tea into the harbor, spelled O-R, and that was sent to us by an expert on American history. You know who? Ted Ryman sent that to me this morning.
Good.
So I had to stick that in. Thank Ted for that. 16th of December, 1773. It actually happened yesterday, this day in history. The Boston Tea Party, Julia. Cool stuff, eh?
It might remind people why tea was so important.
Well, what was this rebellion? What was this all about?
Yeah.
Why? You brought it up. Now you got to deliver. Taxes, that's right. It was taxes. And the colonials were not happy. Remember, that's just 3 years before the Declaration of Independence in 1776. In Congress, July 4th, 1776. This was in 1773. Taxes, yeah, Rick Bannerose got it. And Lipton was in a small boat catching it all. Mark, yeah, the famous tea man, ultimately, but that was not for a couple hundred years later, right?
And Graham Sweeney says Americans still don't know how to make tea.
Well, that's probably true. No taxation without representation. Yep. Or coffee. I like American. I like iced coffee, Julia.
Yes.
This is my new slide for an AC38 cup date. And there's news.
Yes.
There's some news. Maybe the cup, Julia, will be run in the Southern Hemisphere after all.
Really?
And we're not talking about Auckland. And we're not talking about Cape Town. Where are we talking about? You know where that is?
Rio.
Christ the Redeemer in Rio. And an article in La Stampa yesterday, thanks Stingray for sending me the link. It did pop up later on my search engines, but Stingray's got the best search engines in the sport, especially when it comes to the America's Cup. America's Cup 2027, this is the headline in La Stampa yesterday in English. This is a Google translation. Rio de Janeiro is a candidate to host.
Isn't that interesting?
Isn't that interesting? Here's the article. The mayor of the Brazilian city, Eduardo Paes, writes to Grant Dalton, the CEO of Team New Zealand, replies, quote, "It would be the ideal place for the event. We need 100 million euros plus any infrastructure," unquote. The exchange of letters facilitated by the activity of a Brazilian entrepreneur who operates in Italy. So says this article that was in La Stampa yesterday. Dear Mr. Grant Dalton, the letter reads, the City Council of Rio de Janeiro is proud to present you with a formal expression of interest to host the 2027 America's Cup, a prestigious event that is perfectly aligned with the city's commitment to celebrating excellence in sport and cultura.
Yes.
Rio is very proud of its tradition of hosting major international sporting events, recognizing them as an integral part of the city's identity and a natural reflection of its dynamic and vibrant spirit, the letter said. This is what Eduardo Paes, mayor of Rio de Janeiro, wrote in this official letter to the Dominus. Again, this is a Google Trans, to the head of the America's Cup, Grant Dalton, CEO of AC Events, the company that organizes the event on behalf of Emirates Team New Zealand, the holder of the cup. Oh, I thought the holder of the cup was the Royal New Zealand Yacht Squadron, Julia. Huh?
Don't get confused.
Yeah, it was an expression of interest, but it did not, as Clark Chapin is saying, did not have a check attached. But there's more here in this article, quite a long article. Rio's interest stems from the promotional work of the America's Cup carried out by a Brazilian entrepreneur, but transplanted to Italy, a Milena Andrade, who was present in Barcelona with her company, who also carried out some voluntary work in support of the Cup, and who therefore brought and promoted the idea in Brazil for a candidacy of Rio to host the next Cup. Yeah, Buzios might be better, Fritz Mueller, I agree with you, but nonetheless, there is a letter dated December 16th. That is yesterday. It is Dalton's response to the mayor of Rio, who thanks the city council for the interest shown and specifies, among other things, that the Cup will be held in 2027. Well, that's confirming news that we broke here on this show, Julia, some weeks, if not months ago. We told you that when they were talking about doing it sooner than that, we said balderdash.
Yes.
It was rubbish. It was not going to happen. It would be 2027. And again, the reason 2027 is in part is because 2026 is the next World Cup and the Winter Olympics. Too much else going on in the world of sport, major global sports in that year. And of course, 2028 is the
Olympics.
Summer Olympics. So you can't do it in 2020. That's why 2027 is the sweet spot. Pragmatist that, in the second paragraph here, that he is, meaning Dalton, he then speaks of the economic value that Rio could derive from a cup that, quote, lasts 3 months, unquote, thanks to the, quote, constant flow of fans that come to the city, unquote. Dalton offers to provide the mayor with some statistics on the recent 37th America's Cup, including, quote, 2.5 million people who were counted in our village and in 2 separate fan zones. There's more. Dalton then says he, quote, wants to delve deeper into the financial commitment if Rio's bid is preferred. Not sure that, again, that's Google Trans. I'm not quite sure what the preferred meant there. I understand Dalton, I think he means if it's serious. I understand Dalton writes to the mayor, quote, I understand, comma, Dalton writes to the mayor, comma, quote, that he says in his letter that there is no implicit commitment from Rio and offer, maybe to Rio as well. I'm not, again, this is Google Trends, and offers to provide documents in the meantime on the infrastructure requirements. Quote, in our quest for sustainability, we want to use existing facilities rather than new or custom built ones, unquote.
Yes.
Which makes sense. Just like they'll do in the Olympics 2028 in L.A., Los Angeles. The Kiwi CEO then reminds the mayor that there are management costs for the event, TV included, plus a fee for hosting the Cup. Dalton estimates that organizing such an event, quote, would cost ACE, meaning America's Cup Events Organizing Committee, 80 million euros, of which 50 million would have to be financed by the public sector. And again, he says that the hosting fee would also be equal to this last figure, 50 million somethings, thus bringing the cost to 100 million euros plus any infrastructure. However, Dalton specifies, again, it would be a, quote, turnkey event, meaning for the city if they paid those amounts. Ed Worley's reaction is TNZ, Team New Zealand spin, PR spin to put pressure on the bidding in the Middle East and in Auckland, he is saying, Ed Worley says, or Ed Worley is saying. What else? Foiling through sewage and dead animals. Andrew Dolly Davola, Andrew from Australia, there were some problems with the Olympic waters. What other comments do any of you maybe have about this? Is this a serious bid? Is this serious interest from Mr. Dalton? What do you think? Rick Bannerell replying to Ed Worley, all water and most sewage runoff from the Farfellas goes into pipes that dump right onto, well, not onto the beaches, but just beyond the beaches.
Though.
It doesn't go right on the beaches. Ipanema is fairly clean. It goes into the water beyond it, though.
But every morning you see the dark spots.
Yes, indeed. Fritz Mueller, is this race really worth all the money? Barcelona, a good indicator. David James, last time I was in Rio, the crime rate was so bad that the hotel would not allow me to leave with a ring or the woman to leave with earrings or allow us to take taxis.
That's also true.
Why can't the AC be in the same year as the Summer Olympics? It was this year, Alistair Murray saying. Well, it's true, but it's tough for sponsorship revenues. And it was there in 2016. He says the waters were very polluted at the 2016 games. Gordon Smith says, Rio? Sounds like a decent idea.
Yeah, I think the crime is a problem in Rio.
Well, it is,
and I love it. But and I've spent some really nice time there.
I've spent very little time. I spent no time in Rio, only passing through the airport on my way to another crime-ridden city, the largest city in the Western Hemisphere, second largest in the world, Sao Paulo.
Sao Paulo.
And we had Formula One there, still do.
Yeah. What's on the wrong side?
Well, it's a big deal, Formula One.
Oh, I know.
And I told you the story about driving from the circuit, from Interlagos, which is the name of the circuit, back into Rio.
Mm.
And I was in the back seat of a, I guess I was in the front seat, actually, front riding shotgun with Mika Hakkinen, the then world champion.
And he was driving?
He was driving back into town
Uh-huh.
from Sao Paulo back into our hotel in downtown Sao Paulo from the circuit out in Interlagos,
Yeah.
Intermountain Lakes. And we were in a traffic jam. Traffic is, it's like LA.
Yeah.
And somebody bumped us in the back.
Uh-oh.
And of course, what they're trying to do is to get you. We're in a Mercedes. We're in a AMG high-end Mercedes. Mika Hakkinen, he gets his own car on track,
Right.
as do the other senior series people. And I would always ride back and forth with Mika if I could, into the hotel and back. And somebody bumps us in the back, and about the same time, we don't pull over because they warn you, And then somebody pulls in, another car pulls right in front of us and puts the squeeze on us. And now the two of them are trying to put the squeeze on us and get us to pull over.
Yeah.
Mika, of course, they don't know who they're dealing with. He's out like this. Roar! We go out onto the shoulder. We go in between cars. We go around here and there before you know it. And I had to change my undies when I got back to town, I guarantee you.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I can see that, though. Yeah.
When I write my book, I'll have to put a word or two in about Formula One. Formula Uno, as they say. Jenson Button was mugged in Sao Paulo after leaving the track. I believe it, Ted Ryman. It's an interesting spot, to say the least. Okay, so much about Brazil and whether they're serious about having that as a venue. And I agree, Julia, with Ed Worley. I think this is just another run it up the flagpole. Be sure that either Bahrain, Abu Dhabi, Dubai, or Jeddah, meaning the Saudis, come up with the necessary money to overcome any bids from New Zealand or from Rio. Or Cleveland, for that matter. I see Alan Long is wondering, asking if Cleveland is in there. Speaking of Cleveland, Alan, I was, and Julia, you know this too. Julia, maybe Julie knows this. I may have told Julie that I was racing in Cleveland before the Great Lakes got cleaned up. The Great Lakes were pretty dirty back in before the pre-EPA days. Richard Nixon and Gerald Ford, a couple of Republicans, put the EPA in place. And they started, the Great Lakes all worked together, including Ontario, including Canada. Oh, Canada! And they cleaned up the lakes.
Yeah.
And I was in Cleveland the day the Cuyahoga River caught fire. It caught fire.
Oh, yeah.
Two rivers caught fire this is back in, 69, 70, 71, sometime in there. And the Houston Shipping Canal caught fire, and the riprap and everything in the front. Literally, the surface of the water because of all the oil and all the crap and detritus. And the Cuyahoga River in downtown Cleveland caught fire. And I was there racing in the Sears semifinals in Thistles.
In the water,
Well, we were not in the water that caught fire. It caught fire behind us, and we were out in the lake.
Yeah.
But it was pretty amazing.
Ugh.
It was pretty amazing on that. I'm glad that we're cleaning up, and we should all be, and we are. We're concerned about.
Well, the San Francisco Bay is cleaned.
Well,
from what it was, I mean, it was.
We're all much more aware of it, and we need to do more. Clean up all the waters in the world, including and especially the gyres in the middle of the oceans.
Yeah,
right.
Nobody's figured out how to do that.
Okay, there is our eco segment for the day. Clark Chapin. Well, that could come back again after somebody dismantles the EPA under the new motto: Earth first, we'll strip mine the other planets later. Clark Chapin.
We'll put you in charge.
Alan Long confirming that the Cuyahoga has been cleaned immeasurably. Yes, it has. And Cleveland has as well, and the lakes, the Great Lakes, and so on.
I thought that was Cayuga.
Cuyahoga. That's
Kaya.
I don't know if it's Cuyahoga or Cuyahoga. How do you say Missouri or Missouri? Huh?
Yeah.
You say tomato or tomato? I don't know.
Missouri.
Let's move on.
No.
We're we're an hour and 34 minutes into the show. Let's carry on here and get to the last leg. We've been speaking of South America, we've been talking about the Optis sailing down in Argentina. They had the spectacular Opti Worlds down there, which is now over. 220, it's completed, it's finished, it's terminado. 225 sailors from 52 nations. And we thought the Brazilian Arthur Bach was going to win, but he was overcome by the Greek kid, Now I got to pronounce his name again. Iason, not Jason. Iason Panagopoulos.
That's good.
Panagopoulos from Brazil. He moved up from 5th or 6th up to 1st in the last few races of the Gold Series. The Spaniard, Mateo Carbonell, was 3rd. The other Spaniard, Juan Domingo, was 4th. The American, Pablo Munoz Montes, the American, who's sailing under a French, oh no, that's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Pablo Munoz Montes from, I believe, Miami, finished 5th. Then another Brazilian, Swede, another American, Marcus Durlach, another Spaniard, and the French. And the Brit did not make it into the top 10. We were also pulling, cheering for the Brits as well. But here is a terrific, they call it the after video. After video. Nice. Yeah, after video is what the Argentinians called it. This comes from that club, Real Club Náutico Mar Plata, I think, Mar del Plata. Fabulous video. You all are agreeing,
yes.
huh? Don't you think, Julia?
Absolutely.
Just
Yeah.
beautiful video. Back up in the comments, John Emmett, we are so lucky to have a diverse sport, and that is so true. A couple other comments. My pronunciation of Cuyahoga is apparently correct. Thanks, Rick Bannerl. Thanks, Alan Long, who lives there.
Who ought to know?
Well, he's there a good bit of the time. He's also back and forth from Texas and Cleveland, and I'm not sure where all else. We have a group that also moves around. Alan Long, did you see this comment, Julia? Cuyahoga is Native American, I wonder which tribe, for Crooked River.
Uh-huh.
Interesting. So that's why it's the Cuyahoga River.
Right.
And yeah, Cleveland is much cleaned up. The Great Lakes are much cleaned up. You know, that was the joke, speaking of cleaned up, that was the joke in 86 when the Chicago Yacht Club applied to be part of the 2000 the 1987 America's Cup. I guess it was 84 or 5 when they applied. And technically, a yacht club that is not on the sea or an arm of the sea, which the Great Lakes are not, technically, a club is not eligible to challenge the America's Cup. And that was a revision to the deed of gift that was specifically done in the second or third deed. I need Hamish Ross to tell me, because the Canadian clubs that kept challenging and coming down, dragging their boats through the Erie Canal even, down to challenge in New York Harbor, and they were ridiculous. The boats were just terrible, and it was costing New York Yacht Club a lot of money, and they were never competitive. So New York amended the deed to say that the challenging clubs had to be have for its annual regatta on the sea or an arm of the sea, its annual regatta, which is ultimately the thing that screwed up the fake yacht club, Club Nautico Español de Velas, CNEV, because they didn't have a regatta, an annual regatta on an arm. They didn't have anything, let alone an annual regatta. So the joke was, when Chicago Yacht Club applied, they say, well, yes, so obviously they're on an arm of the sea because you can't drink the water in Lake Michigan. Because at those days, at the time, the lake water was so bloody polluted. Okay, so anyway, it's cleaned up now. Much, much better, much cleaner. Bravo Zulu to everybody. John Emmett, I spent a lot of time in Argentina this year. Yes, he did. Sent us a couple of videos. Great video, Chris, actually. Yeah, we all agree. Great video. And a great class, diverse. Opties are so cute, Ted Ryman says. Now, Ted, I got to tell you one more thing. Julie, you haven't heard this either. The other day, I was over here at this middle school. You know where they have the big Christmas trees?
Yeah.
They have a Christmas tree, what do you call it? You can buy it. You can buy trees there.
Right.
So in the parking lot.
Right.
So I go in and I'm looking at just a small tree to maybe put back here on Peter Stevens' Croutonic Corner or out here in the Beach Street Yacht Club. And a nice kid in a red hoodie comes up and he starts, hello, can I help you? And he's clearly either South African, Kiwi, Australian, Brit maybe, Zimbabwe, but he's a kid. And I said, hey, are you from Australia or New Zealand by any chance? And he said, no, I'm from South Africa. I said, where? He says, Cape Town. I said, oh, I've been there. You have? Really? Yes, I've been there a couple times. Have you ever been out to Stellenbosch? Well, I'm kind of from out in that's east of town, out where the wine country is. He says, I'm kind of from out there. How do you know? Well, I've been down there. So I'm a sailor. And I said, by the way, we have a good friend and a regular who watches our television show that I host. And he's from Cape Town. His name is Ted Ryman. And the kid said, you know that crouton? No, he didn't. Everything up to that point was true. I did ask him if he knew Ted Ryman. I said he loves fast women and fast motorcycles, and he loves to sail. He didn't know Ted Ryman. Or if he did, he didn't admit to it. Okay, Ted, there you go. There's the Ted Ryman story. Kids just want to have fun. A nice kid. I didn't buy a tree, but actually I just had one delivered here just before we went to air. A ceramic tree. Randy Newman penned it well. Did somebody say a Canadian club? Now that's a booze. At our home club, they used to drink Canadian Club. I always thought the stuff was pretty foul. Any other zebra mussels? Yes, got a zebra mussel problem in Lake Michigan. In fact, they even get up the river up to our little lake. They come up to here in the river. Julia, enough of all that. Let's get us here too. Go ahead.
Julie Arns reminded us that Dalton wants the cup to return to New Zealand.
Well, she says that. I don't believe it, Julie. I don't believe it. But we'll see. We'll see. I hope it returns to Auckland. I think most of us think it does belong there and should go back there. Okay, Julia, here we go. Whiskey, Tango, Foxtrot. There's the first one. This is actually a caption contest sent by one of our FOSI this morning. It is not a proper cleat knot. And the FOSI asked that we use this as a caption contest.
Not my first.
Huh?
Not my first
Not
tie-up.
my first. You've never tied a cleat knot like that. You know how to tie a cleat knot.
I do.
Caption contest, anybody? Canadian Club was not a mixer, Alan Long. Canadian Club is a whiskey made in, I think, Windsor, Ontario, but it's a whiskey that's kind of a cross between rye and bourbon, and I'm not sure what all else. And it's The proof of the pudding will be in the eating, as Mr. Shakespeare said. Yeah, the comments are rolling in. How Italians tie up their boats. That's what Graham Sweeney's caption is.
Yeah.
Why can't you take him at his word? We're talking about Dalton. That's Julie Aarons is saying. Let's go back to this. There, it won't come loose now. Clark Chapin. Graham Sweeney is saying yes in Windsor. Yeah, Alan Long, Canadian club, and they drank it with soda water, or maybe just water. It was kind of like it was not quite a bourbon. It was more like a rye whiskey, I think. Is that an OSHA knot? Edward Lee, OSHA is our Occupation and Safety Health Administration. Caption contest, not going anywhere, not good, KNOT. That's pretty good, Ted Ryman. Not good, not going anywhere. Emily's knots after 3 too many bourbon creams, Banner.
Yes.
Not going anywhere fast, quick getaway. CC was only intended as Christmas gifts for people who don't like booze. I always show my brokerage clients how to correctly wrap a sheet. That's why they called it Knots Landing. Oh, my goodness. Hiram Walker Distillery in Windsor. Thank you, Clark Chapin. Okay, well, again, that is, you all have done way better than probably I did. Here was the suggested, Julie Aarons is going to love this. Caption, AC-38. A Gordian knot around a cleat. I did not do that, Skipper. KNOT, Mark Holland. A Crutonic knot, Ed Worley is saying. Congratulations, you're officially a member of Edgewater Yacht Club, which is one of the 3 major clubs in Cleveland, Alan Long says. As a caption contest. I raced at Edgewater Yacht Club more than once. In fact, won a North American Championship there in 1970-something. Nice club. Okay, AC-38. You don't like that caption, Julia? Do you like that?
No.
Okay. Well, Julie Aarons won't like that either, but I thought we'd put that up. Okay, Julia.
Okay. How long have you been playing the guitar?
I had to look at this for a second before I got it. And it's I've seen other instruments there besides guitars, but that came from the Fuzzy Fozzy from Rick Bannerow, who was in a submitting mood. Hey, I made a joke there, Rick. He sent that one in. That's because you all like to make fun of me playing guitar, playing banjo. Okay, I accept it. Here's another one, Julia. The crossbar appears to have been dislodged by this announcer on TV by the athlete's penis. So is this the men's or women's pole? They're still doing captions for that that cleat knot. Kerfuffle hitch. If you can't tie good knots, tie lots of them. You know who sent that one in? J. Frederick Bland.
Oh, good for him.
Well, it happened during the Olympics. It's happened a lot. I've seen it happen any number of times at events.
Yeah.
Not to me. How was that?
Yeah, me neither.
I should hope not, Julie. That's a comment of the day. That's what we should have said. Caption contest, has this ever happened to you? I'm getting silly here. We're not even 2 hours into the show. Julia, get your finger ready.
Oh, I saw that, yes.
Actually, they're prosthetics. The Fuzzy Fozzy sent this in. Rick Bannerow, in the Christmas spirit. Rick Bannerow. Julia?
Yes.
Is that a finger wag, or is that one just funny and in the Christmas spirit?
It's sort of in the Christmas spirit. It's not terrible, though.
It's pretty terrible. And there's nothing sailing. Actually, they're prosthetics, though. I thought that was good. Okay, we wrap up with a clean one here, Julia. To sail or not to sail? What a stupid question. That is a clean one that came from Ryman.
Yes. Well, that's good. And it's black and white.
That is good. Yeah. Which gets us to the finish line. Ogletree just fell off the couch. Julia, we're to the finish line, and you like to say, but before you do, I'm going to reprise our schedule here. We're going to not do a show Friday. We've just done our regular 17 December show. Christmas Eve, we're going to have a discussion about all the people you've nominated with our panel on a Zoom call. So you can all watch them, discuss it, and hear their points of view. Those of you on the panel, I've talked to most of you, announced you on the show the other day. Christmas night, we'll do our watch party at 17:30 for the Rolex Sydney to Hobart Yacht Race, and then we'll do our regular Friday show on the 27th of December at 1300 Pacific, 2100 UTC, and then New Year's Eve, we'll also do a regular show at 1300. And I hope everybody gets through your rest of your week in good shape, because no show on Friday, Julia.
Okay, I think you ought to do a panel that we can just copy for that schedule.
We will.
Yeah.
We will. I did it. It's on my Facebook page already. I put it up this morning.
Oh.
That schedule.
Oh.
So
okay.
there it is. Like, follow, and share is what you were going to say, right,
It
Julia?
is, yes.
That's exactly what you're going to say. Comments are welcome. Even in replay, thanks to all of you who keep us on the air so that our studio is supported. I'm hearing things that maybe Restream.io had some problems today. That's the group to whom we send our signal off the computer out of here on the internet, and then they restream it, but we'll confirm that. Sorry for any problems that may have caused you all. In the meantime, thank you, those of you who are patrons and do support us. Thanks also to those of you who gave us images, videos, audio for today's show. Julia, final thoughts?
Yes. I say again, I love it, our Fosies.
You love our Fosies. Well, so do everybody else. And that is Ted Ryman, nice show. Thanks, Larry Kennedy, on the subway trying to watch on the subway in New York City. Cole Brower is Jamie Hutchison's nomination. I have a feeling, Julie, we're getting a lot of nominations for Cole Brower. What do you think of that?
I approve of it.
You approve. Okay. We approve of all of you, too. We love you to death. Thank you very much. Hope to see you a week from today. No show this Friday. In the meantime, we hope you all sail fast, sail safe, and have fun. Ciao for now.